October 16th, 1793, Marie Antoinette, once the Queen of France, adored and feared, wearing jewels worth more than entire villages, was led through the streets of Paris to the guillotine, her head soon to fall before thousands of stunned spectators. Marie Antoinette, the Austrian-born princess who became the Queen of France at just 19, once walked the gilded halls of Versailles as the embodiment of royal splendor. She was admired for her beauty, her fashion, and her charm. Yet behind the glittering gowns and opulent parties lurked a growing storm. France in the late 18th century was a nation teetering on the edge of collapse, its economy crippled by years of war, extravagant spending, and an unfair taxation system that weighed heavily on the common people. As bread prices soared and the streets filled with the cries of the starving, the Queen's lavish lifestyle became a lightning rod for public anger. Rumors swirled like wildfire, whispers of secret lovers, of plots against the revolution, of the Queen secretly hoarding wealth while her people suffered. Political pamphlets portrayed her as Madame Deficit, a symbol of everything the French despised. Even small gestures, her preference for playing cards, gambling, or hosting extravagant balls, were twisted into evidence of moral corruption and betrayal. Her position at Versailles, once untouchable, became a gilded cage. The royal family struggled to navigate the treacherous currents of revolutionary politics. Ministers came and went, each failure amplifying the people's fury. Marie Antoinette was accused not only of extravagance, but of conspiring with foreign powers to crush the revolution, a charge that would seal her fate. The palace, a symbol of absolute monarchy, became a target of outrage, culminating in the storming of the Tuileries and the forced imprisonment of the royal family in Paris. From queen to captive, Marie Antoinette's life became a dramatic chess game of survival against the tide of popular revolt, intrigue, and betrayal, a prelude to the grim fate that awaited her on the guillotine. The night before her execution, Marie Antoinette lay in her small, cold cell, the grand halls of Versailles long behind her. The Queen, who had once commanded armies of servants and dazzled the court with her elegance, now faced the stark reality of her mortality. Fear gnawed at her, yet beneath it stirred a quiet resolve. Her thoughts were consumed not with herself, but with her children, her son, Louis Charles, her daughter, Marie-Thérèse, and the unimaginable future they would face without a mother's protection. In the dim light, she went through her final rituals, clinging to the remnants of faith and dignity. A modest dinner, simple and tasteless, barely passed her lips. She knelt in prayer, murmuring the words she had repeated countless times throughout her life, now infused with the desperation and hope of someone confronting death. Letters were folded, gifts for her family arranged, and each act became a meditation on what she had lost and what she would leave behind. Family and close attendants were allowed brief visits. She spoke softly, offering words of comfort and love, her regal composure juxtaposed with the trembling heart of a mother. Her attendants described her as both serene and sorrowful, a paradox of grace under the most crushing circumstances. She spent long moments in contemplation, reflecting on her life, its triumphs and mistakes, its joys and betrayals. Her mind racing with memories of ballrooms and gardens now replaced by shadows and stone walls. As dawn approached, Marie Antoinette rose, prepared for the journey to the guillotine with the poise that had defined her public life. She donned her plain dress, removed her jewels, and faced the ultimate act of courage, stepping into history as the embodiment of a monarchy's final chapter. Every heartbeat echoed in the silent corridors, a prelude to the final, irrevocable moment when the world would witness the fall of France's most famous queen. The morning of October 16th, 1793 dawned cold and gray over Paris, as if the city itself mourned the end of an era. Marie Antoinette, once the Golden Queen of France, was now led through the streets like a prisoner, her hands bound, her face pale but composed. The carriage moved slowly, jostling along the cobblestones, past buildings filled with people shouting, jeering, and pointing. Some cried for vengeance. Others simply watched in awe at the woman who had so often been untouchable. At every turn, the atmosphere was electric with tension, a mix of fear, hatred, and grim fascination. Revolutionary guards flanked the carriage, their expressions stoic yet alert, ready to quell any attempt at rescue or chaos. Marie Antoinette's thoughts flickered between the tumult outside and her own inner world, the faces of her children, fleeting memories of laughter in the gardens of Versailles, the moments of power and freedom that would never return. As the Place de la Révolution came into view, the crowds thickened. The square, now a stage for history's ruthless theater, seemed alive with anticipation. Spectators pressed forward, some shouting insults, others whispering prayers or sobbing quietly. The air was heavy with the mingled sense of damp earth, smoke, and fear. The Queen descended from the carriage with measured grace, her posture upright, her gaze forward. Every step on the cobblestones echoed through the square, a rhythmic drumbeat of inevitability. Guards surrounded her, guiding her to the scaffold, while the executioner prepared the guillotine, its sharp blade glinting ominously in the morning light. For the crowd, this was both spectacle and justice. For Marie Antoinette, it was a final walk of courage and dignity, a path she had never imagined she would tread when she first arrived at Versailles as a young bride. And as she ascended the steps of the scaffold, the weight of history pressed down, a somber reminder of a monarchy's fall and the merciless tide of revolution that had claimed her life. When the blade fell, it was not only the life of Marie Antoinette that ended, but the last visible symbol of an absolute monarchy that had ruled France for centuries. The streets of Paris slowly emptied, yet the echoes of that morning lingered, shouts, whispers, and the chilling silence that followed the spectacle of death. The Queen's reputation, once built on elegance and power, was irreversibly transformed. History remembered her through the lens of scandal and propaganda. Madame Deficit, a foreign-born temptress, a woman accused of plotting against her own nation. Her children bore the brunt of her legacy. Young Louis Charles, destined to be king in name alone, was imprisoned and subjected to harsh treatment, stripped of the comforts and dignity his mother had once sought to provide. Marie-Thérèse, the eldest, faced years of confinement and the burden of surviving in a world that had turned against her family. For them, the personal cost of the revolution was immense, a stark reminder that the fall of a monarch could ripple across generations. Even in death, myths and rumors swirled around Marie Antoinette. Revolutionary pamphlets painted her as a symbol of decadence and betrayal, while royalists and foreign observers cast her as a martyr, a queen who had suffered unjustly at the hands of the mob. Stories of secret treasures, hidden letters, and whispered intrigues kept her memory alive in Parisian streets and European courts alike. She became the figurehead of a vanished world, the embodiment of both cautionary tale and tragic hero. The guillotine claimed more than her life. It claimed the certainty and grandeur of Versailles, leaving behind only fragments of splendor, rumor, and grief. The monarchy's fall was complete, and the name Marie Antoinette became forever entwined with the inexorable march of history, a reminder of power lost, innocence destroyed, and the human cost of revolution. Her life, death, and the legends surrounding her continued to captivate minds, long after the square had emptied and the scaffold had been dismantled. Though her life was cut tragically short on the scaffold of the Place de la Révolution, Marie Antoinette's story did not end with her death. Over the centuries, she has become a symbol far larger than the frailty and scandal that defined her final years. To the revolutionaries, she was the embodiment of royal excess and tyranny, a cautionary figure illustrating the peril of unchecked power. Yet to others, historians, writers, and artists, she evolved into something more complex, a tragic heroine, a woman caught between duty, desire, and destiny. In literature, Marie Antoinette's life has been romanticized and dramatized, her youthful charm, elegance, and personal suffering rendered in novels, biographies, and memoirs. The opulence of Versailles, her private joys, and her final courage have been endlessly retold, casting her not merely as a queen, but as a symbol of lost innocence and the human cost of revolution. In cinema and television, her image swings between villain and victim, illustrating the fascination with her personality and the enduring allure of her story. Costume dramas, period films, and historical series continue to portray her, not only as a monarch of wealth and power, but as a woman whose life reflected the turbulence of her era. Marie Antoinette's legacy also extends beyond art and literature. She embodies the tension between privilege and responsibility, a reminder of how personal decisions can become entwined with national fate. Museums, palaces, and exhibitions preserve her memory, offering glimpses into the world she inhabited and the grandeur that was swept away by revolution. Her name has entered popular culture as shorthand for both extravagance and tragic dignity. A queen whose story resonates with empathy, fascination, and caution. From execution to legend, Marie Antoinette remains unforgettable, not merely as a historical figure, but as a symbol of humanity in extremes. Ambition and vulnerability, power and fragility, glamour and grief. Her life, her death, and the stories built around her continue to captivate imaginations worldwide, ensuring that, centuries later, the Queen of France lives on in the collective memory of history, culture, and art.